continuing on with our conversation of the types of questions that we should be asking when we're engaged in our needs analysis phase of the four-step sales process. Today what we're going to do is talk about impact and critical event. Now these questions should follow our situation and pain-based questions that we talked about earlier. Again, if you wanted to practice with the situation-pain sequence, that should set you up perfectly for the next question, which is going to deal with impact. Now, an impact question is fairly easily recognized in that it should have the word impact in it. Not always, but typically. And so, for example, if I've asked my situation pain, and they've told me a little bit about the pain they're experiencing, I want to give them an opportunity to paint a picture for me in bright, vivid colors what that pain is going to do or what it is currently doing to them in their organization. And impact is how I'm going to do that. So again, for example, I'm going to ask my pain question and they unfold that to me. I will then follow up with a, wow, that does sound like a pretty intense situation. How is that impacting your bottom line? Okay, now they're going to have to quantify that. They're going to have to paint that picture for me in a way that they understand and that I understand. And that sets me up beautifully to assist them further because I understand further what they're actually going through and what they're going to be experiencing in the future. So, impact question. Again, it should typically have impact or a synonym in the question itself. You ask that, they paint the picture for you, and that sets you up perfectly for the next set of questions, which is critical event. Now, when we say critical event, in layman's terms, what we're talking about is this a need or a want for the customer? Okay. Now, if we put that in a different spectrum, what we're going to look at is a couple of questions dealing with time that will help identify for us if this is a true need or if it's just a want. Now, if it's just a want, that doesn't mean we write them off. There are things that we can do to still influence people to make a purchase if they're in that want category. Heaven knows we buy wants versus needs every day. But as a sales rep, someone who's working in a forecasting situation and trying to identify where this customer is at in the customer journey, I should be able to identify, again, if this is a need or a want for them. And critical event questions are going to help me do that. So, the two questions within critical event, both dealing with time that I would recommend, are something along the lines of, first, what is your ideal time frame to have a solution in place? Now this should make sense in sequence because they've already told me the situation they're in, the pain they're experiencing, the impact that pain is causing them, and now if I follow up with something along the lines of, well, if you had a solution in place, what would be your ideal time frame? They are going to start telling me if this is a need or a want. They're going to do that by saying, well, by the end of Q3 would be a great time frame, an ideal time frame. Now, if we're in January, the end of Q3, by a calendar, that's really more of a want than a need. They're not expressing a burning need to get this project done. Okay? But if I follow up with my second critical event question, which is, what happens if that time frame is missed? That will help lock down for me, again, if this is a need or a want. In my first scenario, if they say, well, end of Q3 is going to be just fine. If I say, well, what happens if, you miss that deadline and then an outage happens? Well, if they answer with something like, well, we've got some systems in place that will help mitigate that, it'll help us limp along until we get something better, we know they are squarely in the wants category. And again, there are different things that we can do for that, but they're definitely not going to be put in my forecast for this month. However, if I ask my first question, what's your ideal time frame? And they say, you know what, I wish we had something in play yesterday. Okay, we're leaning heavily towards the needs section. And now I follow up with what happens if we don't get something in play until, the end of the month. We can't last that long. We have to get something in play now, as soon as possible, end of the week if at all possible. Okay, this is a need, and I can employ everything that I can to make sure we resolve that for them. And then I'm a partner to that person. Then I'm really assisting them with what they've already described to me. And that's what we want to do. That's where we want to be. So, in review, once we've gone through our situation, pain-based questions, we understand what their pain is, we want them to paint the picture for us using impact questions, and then we want them to help us forecast this as a need or a want by asking our 2 critical event questions: what's your ideal time frame, and what happens if that time frame is missed? When we do that, that sets us up beautifully for the next category in our 4-step sales process, which is recommendation and demonstration.